Well, the jerk store called. They're running out of you.
Yeah.
I mean, they've literally taken away people's careers. I mean, Gavin McInnes, Alex Jones,
Owen Benjamin.
Yeah, Owen Benjamin. Yeah,
you know these
Milo.
I don't even know what to call them. Leftist, socialist, whatever you want to call them, because they shapeshift.
It's just useful morons.
Let's say they're just not real liberals, not interested in letting people have freedom.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What happened? How did we let these giant technologies get out of control like this? Google, Twitter, Facebook's dying. Google and Twitter, they're, what do you call them, leftist owned, leftist controlled, leftist biased, these giant machines that we're all sucked into, and now they're just pulling levers.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't win. Sometimes on a whim.
How did this happen? And people just didn't really. How are people so short-sighted? How are conservatives or true libertarians or true freedom lovers so short-sighted to not see the potential of having giant technologies like this that are so ingrained into everyday use suddenly be controlled by one ideology versus another?
Well, here's one thing.
It's a real problem now.
Here's one thing. It's like the reason why it's conservatives, Republicans, whatever, has let this happen is because they're decent people, and that the label of racist really had a power back then.
Sure.
So as soon as you say, "Oh, I don't think we should really do that," it's like racist.
But do you remember the beginning of the internet, where everything was out
so
there? You would search and you would have a million results, and it was up to you to sort of find out.
Exactly, it was on you to sort through the offering of the search engine.
The results came.
Yeah, there was regardless. No, there was no there was no safety and whatever.
But you could educate yourself.
Yeah,
you could educate yourself and really search out things. But now I'll tell you. Because being anyone who's over 25 who's been using the internet for more than 10 years, seriously, not a 13-year-old, okay,
right.
Not a 15-year-old even. You've been using the internet seriously for more than 10 years. You will know, you can attest to the difference,
right, in
the search engines and the results and what you can find and what's available out there. And what sadly is information and influences how people think.
Right.
And if you control the information, you're going to control how people think. And then you're going to start influencing votes, and you're going to start influencing all kinds of cultural change.
I think that's why they went after Alex Jones and Gavin McInnes so early, is because they were instrumental in Trump getting elected. So that's why they were all deplatformed. So to the run up to even up to the midterms.
But I really wish there could be an investigation into the civil rights of the deplatforming.
Yeah.
Because you need to hammer out whether these companies are
publishers or platforms.
Exactly, publishers or platforms.
And that's what's so...
and if they're platforms, then I'm the publisher, and the publisher should have rights. And if they're publishers, the publishers have rules.
Right, exactly. And
I think they need to create something where the individuals, if they're platforms, the individuals have publisher rights. If I post something, I'm a publisher, and I have publisher rights. Is this a wild idea?
No, and I think, that was one of the things that was so, I think, confusing or really frustrating when watching the Joe Rogan podcast with Jack Dorsey and Tim Pool, because they constantly vacillated between, it's like, oh, we're a platform, or they constantly said, oh, we're a platform, everyone should have, and he even said every human should have a right to our platform. But it's as long as you follow these rules, it's okay, well, we're following these rules, but we still get deplatformed. What's up with that?
The rules aren't even clear. They're not even published.
They're completely arbitrary.
People have been blocked, banned, suspended for reasons that were never disclosed.
Exactly. I mean, case in point, Gavin McInnes, when he was booted off of Twitter, the email that was sent to him literally said, "You are being banned for," and then semicolon
blank
colon blank.
Right. No
reason whatsoever. And so,
no, I mean, one of the podcasters I follow, they had problems with being able to even post ads on Twitter. Twitter said you are no longer able to post ads. They tried to find out why. There was never a reason given. Just nope. So
Well, I mean, we kind of like dived a little bit off the deep end, but as far as like what I want to know, it's kind of like the same stuff as like, what are we finding in space? Like, I mean, obviously we get like all the great pictures and all this stuff, but what are we actually finding?
Not much, actually.
Yeah, and that there's a thing. It's like, but I'm more because I'm a history buff. I want to know like, obviously like stuff that happened at the end of these wars, and we do have a lot of information, but like stuff like like the whole thing with like Hitler, a lot of that stuff is as we see in these documents that were declassified. That's the stuff I want to know. Like, why did we? What exactly were we doing with him? What exactly were we? What happened after World War II? It's kind of because that to me is like one of the great. Oh, great is kind of like a wrong word, but like kind of like the big moments in history. Obviously, we're far removed from that now, and all the people that were essentially involved in it are the bigwigs they're dead. The bigwigs are dead.
Well,
at
it
least.
Was kind of complicated situation too. Didn't we have to sort of roll right into defending the Pacific?
Right. I mean, there's a whole. I mean, there's a lot that was involved. And like I said, I understand. I'm fine that we didn't know back in like 1951 what was going on, but we're in 2019. Why the fuck do we not know? Why is this not like released now? Because I think this is important history that I think we need to know and understand better. And if we, if guys like Hitler did not die and we were involved with him, why the fuck are we not talking about it? Why? And why is this some like tinfoil like conspiracy theory that he was in like Argentina? And if that was true, which I based off of all like the evidence and the documentation shows that it probably was true that he did not die in 1945, why aren't we talking about it?
Because maybe the government needs to keep secrets, because the government needs to keep its edge, needs to keep its power. If we knew everything the government knew, what leverage would they have?
But like in 2019, something that happened in like 1940, like 1949.
We're still talking about reparations for slavery now.
Well,
2020 candidates are talking about reparations for slavery.
I understand that, but like,
imagine the racial discussion that would come out about who helped Hitler.
True. That makes sense.
White American president helping hit. I mean, Eisenhower, a German-sounding name.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I'm not putting it past.
So no, it makes sense because we're so pro-socialist at this point now. I mean, I'm not because I fuck socialism. But
I just think the racist stuff and all the. I don't know. I just think.
But because like
weaponized.
We don't. A lot of people do not understand the importance of the Cold War and like what the Soviets were involved with and why we were against them and how we stopped them from advancing as far as they, farther than they could have, in a lot of these wars. Like if we had not intervened in Korea, there would not be a South Korea. There would be a North Korea. There would just be Korea based under the Kim regime. Vietnam, if we did not intervene in Vietnam...
we lost.
Technically, we didn't. We did, but we didn't.
But the South Vietnamese lost.
Yeah, there's no...
Yeah, because we at that point we were effectively.
But in your comparison of Korea versus Vietnam, South Korea is a sort of a free democratic country,
but that's Vietnam because we actually intervened.
Right.
And the problem is like
we could have won Vietnam. That's a whole other topic.
Yeah, but the thing is like had we not they would have gone further had we not intervened. That's the thing. What I'm talking about.
Absolutely. And you know what though? And there shouldn't even be a North Korea right now.
Yeah.
There shouldn't
McCarthy,
be. You're right.
Yeah.
That's again.
38th parallel is BS. We could have gone all the way.
We should have listened to McCarthy.
We would have had a much stronger leverage to this day against China if we had all of the Korean Peninsula and had some historical
but that's the thing is like those are the wars nobody studies the Korean War, nobody studies Vietnam very well. Like, it's all like the 60s
it's all been propaganda.
Bullshit.
Yeah, it's been propaganda.
But it's good though. Like you're saying, if we don't study, we're not going to see the impact of these decisions that 20, 30 years later.
Right.
A decision we make today about Syria and how it might affect the world 20, 30 years later if we don't look at decisions we made similarly before.
Right.
And how they project
Well,
out.
and see, this is the stuff that I want to know. I want to know, like, how, like with these, wars and offensives that we took, why did we take them? What was the importance of them? And like, how does that affect what we're doing today? That's what I want to know. That, and obviously, like, stuff like aliens, like, did we find something? Did we learn something?
Yeah.
Did we actually go to the moon? Those are great things. I want to know that too. But I'm more of like, I guess I'm kind of more of a here and now guy.
Sure.
And how did, like, the things that we've dealt with in history as far as the U.S. government, what did we learn from that? Like, and that's why I would love to know, kind of the underneath, like, and because there is an underneath of, like, what we know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, hell, it goes back to the goddamn Revolutionary War with all, like, George Washington's spies and all this shit that, like, there was a lot of stuff that was going on. I mean, we were in the works to, like, take Canada. Like, Canada wasn't like...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we would have had Canadian territory had we actually, like, pursued further.
We should have done it.
Which we should. We should have.
We would never have Trudeau.
God. Fuck fuck Canadians. But that's what I want to know. I want to know more of, like, that's, like, why do we deal with certain people? Why, and, like, why did we get into certain things? And I know it's like, it's 60, 70 years in the past, but it's still important today.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know. One little comment. I think, talking about history, I think sometimes some people think that the world, in a way, the world is very small, and we're all interconnected. These countries we're all living together in this world. But honestly, in a way, territorially, the world's huge.
It is.
You have America over here, you have China on the other side of the world, and there's really a lot of distance between us. Mm-hmm. And they live their way, we live our way. And they can't really easily come over and tell us what to do. We can't easily go over and tell them what to do. We are two different cultures that have grown in hundreds, thousands of years, in some cases. And we're just trying to deal with what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, we're human, but we're not the same culture. We're not the same country. I mean, they're doing it their way, we're doing it our way. And and there's enough distance to where you see how these nations have to, like, have this respect amongst countries. You can't just be like, hey, what are you doing? Like, it's touchy.
The whole poking your nose into another country's business.
Right. So I think politics and foreign relations is very, very
the whole thing.
Well, I mean, you even look back in
which is speaking to what you're talking about.
Yeah,
like these reasons must be fascinating.
Yeah, like you look back in history, like, countries like China, Japan, Korea, they were shut off from the rest of the world for thousands of years,
right?
Before any sort of, like, Western civilization got
China
there.
held on until the very end. I mean,
and I
maybe
mean,
to their detriment, though.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I would agree with that. But, like, even today, if you look from, like, Mao, to today, and then you look at our country too, like, it's worlds apart.
Yeah.
It's just,
well, the American experiment is a pretty amazing experiment. I mean,
goddamn right it is.
Word.
200 years from birth to now, and the technology and
it's the advancement and the progress that
and the prosperity. I mean, some of the poorest in our country are richer than most anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Even our homeless,
or even like to a point. Yeah, the poorest in our country are on par or greater than, like, the middle class of, like, some other place.
Are poor or fat?
Right. Because simply we have so much infrastructure, so much supportive infrastructure. I mean,
not just fat, true. They're obese.
True. I know, they got the diabetes.
That's
first world problems. Let me tell you.
Yeah, Americans are pretty gluttonous.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying, like I said, for the most, like, the experiment itself, America, it's not perfect. Don't get me wrong, but in the world, this is the greatest experiment that's ever existed, because we're not a country that's based off of bloodline or or hell, even religion.
No.
It is based off of a creed and an idea.
Right.
And the fact that, like, you know, people are, you know, taking a crap on that.
You know what's amazing about America is America in the Constitution states that your rights are given by God.
Right. It's only
not by
the government.
A government.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah, and like and it says that it's our job. It's like, and it's the government's job to stay out of your business.
Right. And so you have these new politicians on the left that want to have bigger, stronger, more powerful government.
Yeah, more centralized.
And tell you what to do and control you.
Fuck that shit.
Decide what are your rights and what are not your rights.
Exactly.
That is insane.
Fuck that shit.
That is why I fight that to the death.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
Scary stuff. Well, I'm hoping that some of these new little politicians that are so enchanting will soon lose their flavor.
Yeah.
Like I said, I believe very strongly in our experiment of the American experiment, and I think we have existed for about almost 300 years at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, and there's been like good times, bad times, and I think we've endured. And I think there's always kind of like a balance where, we get like, kind of, some of the, the crazy ideas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We get a bunch of good ideas, and then it kind of shifts.
You know what, though? I think it's going to all work out in the end.
I do too.
I really do, in a weird, strange way.
I'm optimistic.
Mysteriously going to all work out. I mean, this gets kind of weird, but I've had thoughts about, you think about, can we hold America? Can we hold this republic? Can we hold it from like European ideas and all these other non-American things? Like, what is American culture?
Yeah.
And who knows American? Who are real Americans? Like untainted, uninfluenced. Like, what would you say is like a real American? And an interesting thought I had, and I don't know how this goes over, but you take the African Americans in this country who were brought here.
Mm-hmm. Or several generations removed from slavery.
This is all they know.
Mm-hmm.
America is all they know.
Right.
And in a weird way, I kind of feel like a backbone of America culture is the African American.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Because they're not from Europe or from wherever they are having this Spanish influence or this European thing, or like, I make a pasta from my whatever. No, they don't have. I mean, they have some African roots in this and that, but a lot of them really, all they know is America. And if someone came to push them and take away their culture, boy, would you see somebody push back.
I mean, arguably, a lot of Southern culture is, African American culture.
Absolutely,
especially the food.
I pray for the day that I pray for the day that like any Southern racism can be really ironed out. But yeah, no, there's a great, real strong American culture in the South with African Americans and Southern whites too.
Yeah,
I mean, I just had this epiphany the other day that if push came to shove and like the socialists came to really take over, that's one slice of American culture that would really stand up to protect itself, because they really don't know anything else. They don't have like interests in European studies or any of that kind of stuff. They're red-blooded Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like you're right in that. We're very as a nation, we are, the diverse is kind of like the flavor of the week kind of word.
The word of the decade.
Sure. But diversity. The thing is, like, it's not, multiculturalism is like the bad word, because we're not multicultural. Like, we come from a lot of different backgrounds, but the majority of us have bought into this experiment. We're not a country based off of bloodline or religion, or we're based off of an idea. And that's what makes this country so great. We have not always fulfilled that idea perfectly, and we've worked to fix that. But it's goddamn, it's so great. Like the fact that I have a bunch of ancestors from all over the place, and someone else that I know is like, from a whole different like region. They love America. They want to buy into like working hard, not having having someone telling them what to do, but that they can manifest their own destiny essentially.
Right. Oh, I love it when I see like a immigrant come here and then start or run a small business with like their family. It's great.
That's the idea. That's the ideal. That's the best part.
And there isn't some government coming in and they're overtaxing them and over-regulating them and threatening them with this and that.
They're celebrating it. That's the best part of it.
As long as their business
and a lot
not
of
in
us take it
California.
for granted, and they come and celebrate it.
Well, I was just saying, as long as their business is not in California
or New York,
or New York
City.
Yeah, just all the regulations here in California. But it's so anti-business. It's ridiculous.
But at the heart of it, that is the great thing about America. It doesn't matter where you come from, what class you are. You can become anything you want to be if you work hard enough. And if the government stays out of your goddamn way. And that is the great thing about America. That is why I love this country to the death.
You know what the government is good for? The only thing the government is really good for is to tell you no.
True.
Because otherwise you could do it.
Right.
Until the government comes and says, no.
Right. Yeah,
otherwise you can do whatever you want. You could have all these crazy ideas and do all these things. But no, the government is just basically a big no machine.
Yeah.
It's just no.
No and spend. No and spend. That's all the government's good for.
Spend.
Yeah.
No, take, spend.
Yeah. Those are the only three functions that the government is good for. No, take, spend.
What Ronald Reagan said, the worst, the scariest words are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
God damn it. Well, that's the thing. I was like, there was, I forget who it was that said this, but it's like, kind of talking about the government. It's like, when people are saying like, from the politicians are saying like, oh, I'm here to like, I'm here for you and I'm here to fix all your problems. Like, yeah, you go fuck off because you're not here to fix anything. Right. And it's kind of, kind of the whole, that idea is, Ronald Reagan also talked about like, we're always, we're one generation away from liberty being destroyed. But I'm also, like I said, I'm part of me is very pessimistic, but I'm also very optimistic because I think we'll win. This idea will win over.
Right. I heard this week, I think it was Ben Shapiro talking at the Reagan Library. He said something about how Reagan said we are one generation away from losing our country. Mm-hmm. But Ben added we are also one generation away from recovery.
Yeah. So it was right. He was selling his book.
Back to the solid constitutional, government.
Mm-hmm. And I think we're on our way to
young people can learn.
Yeah,
and make changes.
And I think with like our new climate, with all the people going after socialism, but I think there's also the newest generation, like what is it, Gen Z or whatever the fuck it's called. I don't know, but like it's the most
easy.
Yeah, but it's also like the most conservative because they're seeing like the super liberal generation, like, the millennials and the baby boomers who have gone kind of very left.
Or the Xers. More the Xers.
Yeah, the Xers have gone very left. This newest generation has gone kind of the opposite.
Right.
And it's kind of like a rebellion. Like, I don't want to, like, fuck those ideas. Like, we're going to do our own thing and we're going to.
Right. It's just like, that's why, you won't see too many, Gen Z kids with like tattoos, or like they have like a very poor view of even drugs.
Yeah,
because because our generation, like the generation before, is more. It was like getting a tattoo was like a little bit of a sign of rebellion, but it's become so normalized. They have like competitions about it on TV.
True. But
and drug culture has been pushed like so much. It's just like it's no longer a sign of rebellion to even to smoke a joint anymore.
But let me tell you what kind of scares me about that. As someone who's a little bit older and seeing things change, as you're describing this new group of young people saying, I don't want to be like those guys, so let's be more conservative. What I'm seeing though is the other side of the coin. is being more reckless and more dangerous than ever. The drugs they're taking are much more dangerous. Guess this the sex is earlier and much more banal. I'm afraid that the other side of the spectrum is worse and more reckless than it was when I was younger. You'd have the goody goodies and the party people, but the party people are not doing anything like what these party people are doing today. I mean, it's
okay. So so there's becoming a little bit more
we have a very extreme
more
culture.
Polarized.
You're right.
Yeah, we have
it's
extremes.
It's very polarized,
and I worry about this group of extremes because it's a big number. You know, it's a big number of kids. There's a big number of kids. You're talking about this great group over here, but there are almost as many over here that are really screwed.
No, you're absolutely right, and I worry about that too.
I really do because it's the drugs, the fentanyl. I mean,
the opioid.
I mean,
crisis.
kids dying from they think they're taking Xanax, but it's laced with fentanyl because someone's trying to sell a cheap load of things, and then you just die.
We are the last 2 years. We've actually, we had been increasing our lifespan, for numbers of years. In the last few years, it's lowered.
Yeah,
true.
It's from the drugs, right?
It's from the drugs.
Because so many
suicide and
so many people
drugs
died from suicide and opiates. It has actually shifted the statistic.
Yeah, and you find a lot of the
turned the statistic.
Yeah, and you actually find a lot of the. When Andy and I have talked about this a little bit, but all the gun stuff and we need to ban guns. It's a lot of those guys are on these opioids that people are taking, and no one seems to want to address the issue. It's not guns that are the issue. It's let's look at the background of these people. What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on in the mind? I mean, are we?
What's going on in the home?
A lot of these guys are from single parent homes. They have taken Xanax or Adderall or what name
psychiatric drugs.
Psychiatric drugs from a very young age, and they end up coming off of it, and their mind is completely fucked.
Yeah, I mean it's a serotonin uptake inhibitor thing that they've completely screwed. They should still be on the medication. Is this thing? It's the brain is very fragile,
and everyone wants to make it a one issue thing. Oh, if we just change this, it's going to change everything. And it's and what we're finding is what we're going to have is we're no longer, legally going to be able to defend ourselves. And it's that's actually not the issue. And that we're screwed.
Well, I mean, true patriots are looking way past the whole gun violence thing. And the Second Amendment is more just about the right to defend yourself in your home. It's the right to defend yourself against
from a government,
tyrannical government, and that's possibly what the real issue is about. You add it up. A leftist, government wants to take away your guns, so you can't fight back, so they win.
If that comes to the point, I will die.
America wouldn't even be a country if there weren't. Yeah. I'm sorry. Firearms are a modern day reality. They've been invented. They're here.
Yeah, it's like the whole genie in the bottle. It's out.
Learn to live with it. Learn to use it. But America wouldn't even be a country without
private
firearms.
Yeah, without private gun ownership.
We won the revolution. We didn't even have that big of a standing army, and it was because ordinary citizens, private citizens who owned their own guns, stepped up and fought on the war. Yeah, we didn't win with knives and pitchforks.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah, and you even look at even back in history, you look at Japan too, with the samurais, made
disarmed.
They disarmed the samurais and people who swordsmen, to defend themselves. It kind of changed. It changed Japan. It led Japan into a different direction, but sure. It's kind of the same. It kind of happened there too.
Any kind of power to any weapon of killing. I mean, we're just human beings. We're just the fragile human beings, and you point a weapon of death at somebody. I mean, they're going to comply. It's a tool of compliance.
You're absolutely right.
That's really it's all about. It's just power and compliance and control.
Well, and that's the thing that I think scares the government, because technically we're the ones that control the government, but they want the control.
When the military is conservative leaning, typically, and they're I mean,
we're in this very it's always been like this. We're always in this very tentative power struggle, and we have all these checks and balances, and we have. Thank God we have this, really great constitution that kind of keeps everything kind of in balance. But it's always very.
It's a miraculous document.
But it's very tentative at the same time. Once we give up that power, we're screwed.
Yeah, I mean when you hear people talk about the details of the Constitution, it's almost a genius document. The checks and balances that are built in here, it is really a true republic.
Right.
It's people not complain, a democracy. Democracy is a bad word.
And democracy
you're right.
They always say
it's
our democracy.
Two wolves and a sheep discussing what's for dinner.
Yeah, or voting on what's for dinner. That's what democracy.
Yeah.
And so people always say our democracy, our democracy. Well, not democracy. We're a republic.
We're a democratic republic.
And and people always complain about
representative
republic, and everyone complains about how it takes forever to get things done. It's well, that's not a bug, that's a feature. And just recently there was the New Zealand shooting, and then everyone's praising New Zealand. It's oh, look how quickly they're getting their prime minister is already saying that they're going to they're banning the assault weapons or whatever.
Fuck that.
They said it's all semi-automatic.
Yeah, all semi-automatic.
That means all guns.
Yeah, all guns. For those of you who are not in the know,
a revolver, semi-automatic.
Yeah, semi-automatic revolver. Yeah, basically all guns, because nowadays all modern firearms are semi-automatic. So them saying semi-automatic is basically saying getting rid of all guns. They're praising the Prime Minister of New Zealand for coming out and saying, we're gonna ban them all. We're gonna ban all the assault weapons. We're gonna ban all the guns. It's yes, finally, urgency. That's what we need. It's no, we need cool heads. Something as making a decision after a devastating event like that is not smart. It's not brave. It's not commendable to take rash action.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
It would be just the same as if, after 9/11, we rounded up all the Muslims.
That would have been dumb.
But that would be the equivalent.
Well, hell, you even think about it, in World War II, we rounded up all the any one that looked Japanese.
Anyone basically looked like me.
Some that were even American citizens.
Yeah, someone who was who were third, fifth generation Japanese American citizens.
Sure.
And
that was a rash decision,
right? And if you guys want to talk about the pitfalls of centralized power or whatever, that was an executive order.
You don't think the left could make a similar decision and round up, say, some straight white guys?
That's a possibility.
Toxic
masculinity. And people don't think about it. It happened, and no one fucking talks about it anymore.
No, but just and again the Manzanar, the Japanese American, the internment, that was done by executive order. It wasn't a vote in Congress. FDR just round up all the Japs, and that was it.
And it was anyone that
And you guys want to talk about
Japanese, Chinese, Korean, any one that looked Asian. Fuck it, we're gonna take them. They took all their possessions, everything. It can happen.
Paranoid time. Yeah. Japan was a real threat. Did you ever hear the story that was in the 40s, around when we had the time? There was a story that the Japanese had actually gone so close to the California coast that they had a submarine off the coast of Santa Barbara lob a shell onto the beach and then get out.
Really?
Like I said, it's not completely unreasonable. I understand that.
I know it is,
but it's
definitely
but the thing is,
uncalled for sure.
But you look, because FDR is one of the great, people, on the left praise him so greatly.
Right. The left praises him. Yeah.
And the thing is, that could definitely happen nowadays. The white people,
hate speech.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, and he also praised Adolf Hitler. He thought that Hitler had some really good ideas.
Was that
FDR?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, FDR. Look it up. It's true.
It's and see, this is why history is so important to study, and to dig deeper into the things that everyone wants to like revise history. It's like let the evidence choose like what you want to like. Don't just like go off of like what everyone's saying. Look at where the evidence is taking you. What's out there? What are you looking at? And let that be the determination of where you go. Don't choose right or left. Choose where the evidence takes you.
Well, these kids today aren't taught how to critically think.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of these young kids just sounds like they're regurgitating opinions.
No, exactly.
They're not looking at facts and critically thinking like you said.
What the scariest question?
A versus B and weighing it out.
You know what the scariest question you can ask a student nowadays in university? It's like, why? They make an assertion, you go, well, why? And then they have them try to back that up. It's like, well,
fry their brains.
Exactly. Right? It's like, oh, why is that? It's like, why should we give up our guns? Or why should we endure? Why should we support this legislation on hate speech?
Orange man bad.
And we've talked about this. Okay, Orange man bad, but you want to give up guns to the government, which is led by Orange man bad.
Yeah, exactly. If Orange man is literally Hitler, and you want to give and literally Hitler is the government, and you want to give your guns to the government, you are giving literally Hitler your guns.
And let's impeach Trump and have what? Oh, Mike Pence. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right?
They love Mike Pence.
So you're saying Mike Pence is better?
Well, they love Mike Pence.
Did you not know do you not know how succession works? It's like, because after you kick out the president, doesn't mean you get to put in whoever you want. You have to go in the chain of succession. Yeah.
John Tyler made that happen, by the way. I was looking into that, like the presidential succession.
Oh, yeah.
He was the one that, like, because it was right after William Henry Harrison, like, he died 30 days after he was president. Like, John Tyler, like, well, I'm gonna be president. And it's like, wait, that's not, let's look at the Constitution and see how that like works. Like,
where's that paper?
It's like, no, I'm president.
Wait a second.
And then they ended up making it like I think an amendment where it was like they decided on presidential succession.
They're like, oops, we forgot that part.
Hey, the guy sees power. I'll give him credit.
Ben Franklin's like, oh, I use that one to roll it up.
And that was like what, like early 1800s. It was like early 19th century. Yeah. But yeah, God, we live in like a great time and a terrible time, and we live in a country that's like, it's so great, but God, it's very tentative. It's very tentative.
No, but the irony is just numbing. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, okay, like Orange Man bad. Okay, Orange Man he hates all Muslims.
Yeah. Orange Man's
that's not what happened. He
hates all Muslims, right? Yeah. But then what does he do? He defeats and destroys ISIS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
ISIS. Who was ISIS killing mostly? Muslims. So he saved a bunch of Muslims, or no? He's
and the thing is, right? Like, and if you look at just like the quote unquote Muslim ban, he was just doing what Obama did. That like apparently loved everybody.
He was working off of a list authorized by Obama. He saw the list of the names of the countries, and it's like, yeah, go run with it. And so Trump,
it's not a Muslim ban.
There's
some biggest countries that are full of Muslims that weren't banned.
Yeah,
it's not about certain specific.
It was more of like where
specific
like the shitholes.
At a certain time.
we were banning people from shitholes. Okay, let's just put it that way.
It's just that's the thing. Is like, I wish people would like just look more than Yeah, okay, don't get me wrong, like, I'm not saying, like, just, throw out all the news stations, like, I mean, CNN's terrible, a lot of these, like, MSNBC, all those, they're pretty terrible. Occasionally they get things right, but look past the news. look at actually what's happening. Look at the information that's available to you. Kind of like what we've been talking about with our, quote unquote conspiracy theories, which are not conspiracy theories.
Turns out there's a lot of information out there.
There's a lot of information. Look at what's in front of you. Look at the evidence. And a lot of times when if it's like one or two things, that's probably coincidence. You can probably throw that away. But when it's like, thing after thing after thing after thing that's in front of you is like where the narrative that's out there and all the evidence is going against the narrative. Maybe the narrative is wrong. Why are you guys not looking at all that stuff? It's the same thing with history. People are trying to rewrite history. You look at like stuff like the Civil War. There's a lot of stuff like everyone wants to demonize the South. The South wasn't necessarily wrong, and I'm not saying slavery was right. Yeah, they had that wrong. But
it was more. But it wasn't the overreach of the federal government. That wasn't
the problem with why the South seceded. There was a lot more that was going on than meets the eye.
Power struggle versus North versus South.
Right. And the other thing that people don't realize is that
a lot of money.
Yeah. The other thing that people don't realize is that there was a ton of white people that were enslaved. The Irish. No one talks about that. But like I said, look more into. Don't just buy into the narrative. Buy into like what people are telling you. Look into the evidence that's out there. Search deeper. Go past the surface level. You're going to find a lot more that's out there. Just look.
Show some curiosity, people. This is your life.
I know, right? This is something.
It's not just, it's history. It's what's going on today. It's everything. Look. Read a book. As Ben Shapiro talks about, read a book. A book.
Just preferably a book that was written before the 70s.
I would agree with that.
Well, take control of your information. Take control of your knowledge. It's not just going to come into your head by osmosis. And if you take the easy fruit, the low-hanging fruit, you're going to be filled with a bunch of bullshit.
And diabetes.
Yeah. It's fascinating stuff. Look deeper.
Yeah. Right. If you take away anything from this, like you could, I hope you can take away that the sense of curiosity that we have, whether life exists outside of our planet or whether, government's colluded with a, evil dictator or whether, human beings ever left our humble little planet. It's all curiosity. Yeah. That's all it is. We're not saying that, we're right and you have to believe us. We're just these things are interesting to us, and we found these things to be contradictory or these things to be worth exploring.
Right.
And that's all that we're trying to say with this episode.
And as I find too, like a lot of things where good people sometimes do evil things for the right reasons.
Oh, that's that Denzel line.
Yeah, and even and sometimes
and Denzel is never wrong. Okay?
And sometimes evil people do like good things for the wrong reasons.
Like, are you truly pro-life?
Yeah.
Would you go back and kill Hitler?
Oh.
So are you really pro-life?
Well, yeah, like that's one of the arguments. Would we kill baby Hitler?
Yeah. Kill baby Hitler?
I wouldn't.
Right.
Because you're pro-life.
Exactly.
Pro-life. I might, I might raise him differently. I might raise him differently. I might abscond with him and, maybe toss the ball around with him a little bit more, instill some, good values.
I think if I was going to go back in history, World War I would be the thing I would end. Yeah, I would find a way to stop that.
Oh, dang.
Because I think that ruined the world for
World War I is so messy, though. It's so messy.
Because here's the thing. Here's the thing with World War I. We're really deviating at this point. But the guy that was wanted no war, wanted peace, Franz Ferdinand from Austria-Hungary, was the guy that was killed. He was the only guy that was stopping that war from happening. That would be the one thing, if I could end that from happening. He was the one guy that was trying to, create peace throughout the empire and throughout Europe. he was the one guy, and he was not a good guy, but he was the one guy who was wanting peace throughout the empire and throughout Europe. If I could stop that and stop World War I would.
That was very interesting. But then, you have to think about the butterfly effect of things. Because I was about to say, I wish, the Civil War didn't happen, because that's like Americans killing Americans. But what am I saying? You wish the Civil War didn't happen? Are you saying
we might still have slaves?
Slavery didn't? Yeah. So...
But then you could go back to the founding of the country, because the reasoning, and a lot of the founders
actually put it into the Constitution.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of the founders didn't want slavery to happen. John Adams didn't want it. It was mainly because they needed a unified. They needed a unified colony. All the colonies that were here, they needed them to unify against Britain.
Right.
And a lot of some of the southern continents were not willing to sign unless we
had to accept slavery literally.
Because you look at the early drafts of the Constitution, they wanted to rid slavery because it was something that Britain started.
Right.
And you look at that and it's that was kind of something that was kind of what we see with abortion today. It was just something that was kind of a common thing that was going on today.
Right.
But there was a majority of the people that wanted it ended.
When did Britain end slavery?
That was
something
after us or before us?
It was slightly before us,
which maybe influenced us to think about it.
Yeah, it was William Wilberforce, slightly before the Civil War happened. He ended slavery in England and Europe. Yeah. But they were the ones that kind of started it, and it was kind of in our aura. But a lot of the you look at John Adams, he was a staunch anti. Right. He was an abolitionist, and you look at that, it's a lot of them wanted to stop it, but at the same time they knew they had to kind of side with something that they knew was wrong
for a greater good.
For the greater good. Yeah. And and see, people today don't realize that. Sometimes
that long vision.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to realize the greater good is sometimes, there's a immediate bad that needs to it's wrong. Don't get me wrong, it's wrong. But you look at you have some forward thing. You look at the whole picture, and we need to go this direction. But to go that direction, we kind of need to side with something that's not good. That's and it's kind of this. It's gut wrenching, and I understand that.
But to their credit, I think they put in enough into the Constitution and into the structure of our government to get the ball to kind of pass
the way it was written. Yeah, you're right. It was
down to future generations to solve it.
I don't think you could get a group of men in a room together or a group of people in a room together and recreate that document from scratch.
No, yeah, but I think they had the foresight enough to put in enough mechanisms so that future generation or even two generations later can figure it out.
My point is you have to preserve it.
Yeah.
My point is, who are these new leftists? Who are these new politicians? They're smart enough to come up with the new way, the new plan, scrap. Oh, no.
You're right. You look at
who are you?
And I can't remember who it was from the Daily Wire who said this, but it's it was never, initially it wasn't realized perfectly, but as time went on, we kind of made it work into what it was.
That can also be the words of the left right there.
But it the thing is through the Civil War and through some of the civil rights in the 60s, we made it into what it was actually supposed to be. And
I think it's very
we've you look at who's oppressed now? Nobody's oppressed by through all the laws that are in place now. There's no systematic oppression.
Yeah, there's no battle for laws to be changed.
Yeah, we have women voting. It doesn't matter there's no slaves anymore. Everyone has an equal say in things.
Yeah, I mean,
no one's making less because people argue it, but like no one's making less for anything, in the country, like women, black, Asian, doesn't matter. You can be whatever you want to be in this country. We kind of have like
an open market with protective laws, it seems like. Because I've seen a lot of loopholes where a woman could get paid less because the business is like, well, take the job or don't. And she's like, well, I guess I want the job. And then she finds out that Johnny's making a little more than she is.
But
But this is free market. She didn't have to take that job. She could go somewhere else. But she is accepted.
But I think Milton Friedman had the best take on it, where it's like, why not just pay whatever the market or whatever you can negotiate. Because like, say there was a business owner who was sexist and only hired men.
Right.
Then all you have to do is go to his competitor who will hire whoever. And like, yes, he'll pay you less, but he's able to make more money. So you are then in fact making that first employer pay for his sexism.
Exactly.
And then eventually you'll edge him out. And then who's to say that you can't then renegotiate your salary or your wage?
Right, which is why it's good for free market to sort of work itself out.
Mm-hmm.
But it also doesn't factor into the point, like a lot of these numbers that people are throwing out, it doesn't factor into the like people have different ideals in life. Men or women, it's like, what? Family is more important to me. So I'm going to work less hours so I can spend more time with my family.
Absolutely.
So I can spend more time raising my family. Or like, what? I just, I don't want to work, 12, 13, 14 hours a day. I want to, spend more time like hanging out, having time with my friends, doing podcasts, whatever the fuck they want to do.
Everyone has different priorities, and and it's fully on them for making the decision. So like, because like the whole thing, like there was that study where men work more hours and take less personal days.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's just like, men just work longer hours and they take less personal days. Whereas women sometimes work less hours, sometimes because of, family obligations or whatever, and they also take more personal days, or they take more vacation time. But that's all on them. No one's like forcing them. It's like take your personal days, or choose your family over your work.
And there's nothing wrong ridiculous. With that. And in fact, a lot of times I find that to be very admirable. Like as far as like you find family or friends more important than your work. And if you can make that work still, that's an admirable thing to do.
What they've done is they turned personal choice, personal responsibility, and skewed it and made it oppression. It's like, oh, because you're a woman, it's like you have to, take care of your kids or whatever. It's like, well, what if she just really loves her family?
Yeah,
and at the end of the day, your boss is not going to live. Your boss is not going to die for you. Your job is not going to keep you. Is not going to, embrace you and say that I love you. It's like it's your husband. It's your kids. It's your family. This job is not going to, it will not fulfill. It'll fulfill a need, but it won't fulfill you emotionally.
Right. That's God. Yeah. That's. There's so many factors, and that's the thing. Like the one thing that we see from, we talk about this a lot on Nocturnal Transmissions. Yeah, I keep bringing that up. Tuesdays, 8-ish.
I know. You keep bringing it up. Plug it. All right.
But the thing is, like, a lot of these, big issues, everyone wants to make it like this one thing. Like, oh, if we change this one thing, it's gonna fix everything. That's not how life works. Life is complicated. There's a lot of different factors in a lot of these issues that people don't want to take into take into thought. And same thing with like what we've been talking about, like the last couple of different topics. It's not one thing that's going to change it all.
No, on that thought, people always say like, oh, I want to, we should change the world. The world can be a better place. We should all love each other, end all the wars. Humans are bad. And I'm thinking, I think people have been trying. I think people have been trying for hundreds of years to do the right thing, to get better, and we are. Generation after generation after generation, we are more tolerable, more kind, more comfortable. I mean, 2019, this is the most tolerant, the most comfortable. I mean, we're not talking about every corner of the earth, but just in general.
Yeah. Or at least in America.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely true.
Yeah. I mean, we're the most tolerant. We're the most accepting.
So when people say, like, we have to have these radical changes, I'm thinking it's not realistic.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking people...
what's wrong with America?
Well, I think you're not giving people enough credit. I think people are generally good. And I think throughout life and throughout society, I think everybody is actually individually on a one-to-one basis. Most people are trying to do the right thing and trying to do their best. So I think as a society, collectively, we are, in general, we're all trying to do better. We're trying to do our best. And that's why things are improving. Because good, I think, will always outweigh bad. And so even if we're 51% good and we're on a slow trajectory, we're improving. You know, and I think that's just a really important thing to recognize is, you know, yeah, humans we're not bad. You know, we have more in common. There's more that unites us than separates us with all the races and cultures and stuff. You know, I mean, just don't play yourself. Don't get twisted, you know. Who's in your head?
Yeah. Really,
who's in your head?
All right. We have way past our
I know. I might have to
threshold.
chop this up. Anyway, we get to what I wanted to know if I was president. But,
oh yeah, that's right. Like, what would you want to know if you were president?
Yeah, I'll probably this last hour, I'll probably just do like this. This was more like a backstage.
Yeah, we can.
Like this last hour has been more like backstage stuff. So I might just chop it up. But
well, we can fake like, hey guys, so now we're gonna go into our after hours and just. Shit.
Sorry, Andy. We
I know he's really doing more work for me.
I think this is the longest podcast.
Some graphics
definitely.
Like, motherfuckers.
I want my hair to be purple. Make it happen.